Good morning, my little falsified documents. Today I'm going to be showing you how to break the page. Breaking the page is just a term to refer to a drawing that creates the illusion that something's coming out from below the page forward in space. Here's an example. As you can see, there is a tear along the page that goes all the way up. It gets from very small to very large, and through that tear, a hand is coming up from below and it's going over onto the page. All you really need is a pencil and paper. Join me on this magical adventure. This is 1 point perspective. Word. Now, as you can see, that 1 point is the vanishing point where everything disappears as it recedes toward it. When you're drawing this, you're going to take every corner on your shapes, and these shapes are letters. Every corner you're going to draw down to the vanishing point, and every tangent. A tangent is a point along the edge of a curve where a line would brush up against it. Okay, in this case, it's along the side here and goes all the way down to the vanishing point. You want to start with the points that are closest to the vanishing point, because those points are going to be in the front, and then other points, like see this line right here, are going to recede behind these closer lines. Okay, so the further you get to the outside, the more overlap is going to take place. No overlap with this O, very little overlap with this R, just right here. It's a quick primer on how to do 1 point perspective. Why did we just review 1 point perspective? Breaking the page involves creating the illusion of depth. It's creating the illusion that something is coming up from the page towards you, or even from below the page towards you. In this case, you have a piece of paper that's been torn open. These are very clearly torn edges, revealing a darkness below. From that darkness comes a hand. As you can see down here, the shading gets darker and darker the further down the hand gets until it virtually disappears. A part of the hand, or part of any object, come out over on top of the page. So that overlap we just talked about is another trick to create that illusion of depth. Here's a drawing from a student of mine where they did the same thing. I'm covering their name for anonymity. They have dark holes that are coming through the paper, and through those paper, these figures are crawling out. Now, when they brought the arms over to further sell the illusion of depth. Clever ways to break the page. To create that illusion of depth, you have to have something that is creating that depth. First one is a torn edge. So the torn edge, jagged lines, maybe some folded overlap. Those jagged lines should roughly parallel each other. If you're ever trying to draw a zipper, they're basically little interlocking rectangles. So here you have the little rectangles standing on their own, and here they're locked into each other. With the sunken edge, the front part of it should be relatively clean. I have a few lines showing the space receding inward, but the back has some fading and shading. Broken edge is sort of jagged lines with little pieces floating in it, those floating pieces, but each one has some depth created by these little shapes here. Cracked edge is a lot like a torn edge, except you have cracks coming up into it. This one doesn't have to be parallel from one side to the other, because if you can imagine the cracked edge, things have fallen into it. So you and me, we're going to draw something rising up from a page right now. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a point that the hand's going to rise out from. Okay? I don't know if I'm going to do a hole, if I'm going to do a torn edge, what I'm going to do. But what I do know is it's going in this spot. If you're holding your pencil way down here like that, that's detail work. You're going to tend to get darker. Hold it further back, okay? Just lightly. Don't try and freehand this. Try and draw the hand while looking at the hand. So the hand is going to be bigger than the wrist because of something called foreshortening. It's going to get less wide as it goes down because it's receding in space. So my hand's going to be big on this drawing. That rectangle is my hand, and that oval is the space it's going to be coming out of. Okay? So now I'm going to draw my thumb. My thumb comes off the base of the hand. Thumb coming off the base of the hand. Is it perfect? No. Does it look like a teapot right now? A little. Okay? Fingers. My fingers. This is where more foreshortening will happen. These fingers will look shorter and stubbier than they really do because they're curled over. Yes, those are tiny little baby fingers. That's because they curl over and they foreshorten. Now it looks like a hand turkey. Happy Thanksgiving. Next, I'm going to curl those fingers over. Only my middle finger is curled over. The rest, I'm just sort of seeing the fingertip, and luckily for us, our fingers are segmented so that those segments become drawing lines where we can really see that curve happen. See how now the hand's starting to curl over? And you add more darkness where there's more action happening. It's another way to show stress at a joint, because when they start curling over, A, there's more folds and there's more wrinkles in your skin, and B, you're creating shadows underneath the fingertips. Notice I'm never spending too long in one spot. Spending a long time in one spot is what you do at the end. Also notice I messed up here. I went way over, but that's why it's good to not draw too dark. Eraser's good. Erasers are your friend. Erasers are just another drawing tool. That looks like a hand. I could work on this for hours. I'm not going to work on it for hours, though. The next step is to draw the arm receding into space. I know my arm gets wider the further toward the elbow it gets, but I'm drawing it almost a little smaller because the hand's going to be coming up at such an angle. That arm is not going to support that hand, but that's because it's receding in space. Just like this road gets smaller as it goes back, and we all know that the road is the same width here as it is here. It's just further away in space. This arm is getting further away in space. Now I'm going to start shading it by drawing these lines. See those curves? Okay. Here, now, I'm going to start working on the shape of the opening. Now, the hand being in front of the hole opening implies this edge is in front of the hand, but this edge is behind the hand. It's all about creating an illusion. So I'm going to draw a broken edge. That broken edge is not precision art. I drew it very roughly, didn't I? Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to draw the side walls along the back. You can't see the side walls along the front. Not too fancy. Now I'm going to draw some broken bits on top of the paper. I could do this for a long time, couldn't I? But I'm drawing those broken bits. Now I need to make those broken bits three-dimensional by drawing the sidewalls on them. So if you look at those bits now, they all have sidewalls on them. I'm just shading in now the rest of the hole around the arm coming up. This is not the last step. This is almost the last step. So, we're going to make it so that the hand looks like it's coming up from the middle of the hole. This is the last trick, okay? Where I was shading around the wrist, I'm going to darken at the bottom. So see now how that's all dark right along there, and it isn't pushed right up against the edge of that paper tear? We're going to smooth that now. A lot of artists do a trick where they kind of don't focus on it and they focus past it. If you can pull that off, that's actually helpful. Now it looks like it's actually coming up from the center of the hole and disappearing into darkness. That's what we're going for. My hand receding in space. It has a very sketch-like quality because I did not stop and do the finer details. As you can see, the hand is larger than the wrist, so that depth is created by foreshortening, but also with the shadow. As the hand recedes into the hole, the shadow totally obscures the hand right here. And the sidewalls of the stone of the broken page further the illusion of depth. I went through that very fast. The good thing about the video is that you can pause it as often as you need. You can slow it down, you can speed it up. There are also, I'm sure, a million tutorials all over the interwebs on how to draw a hand or anything else you want to draw. Because really the important thing is that it just comes forward in space. It's not important that it be a hand. The most important thing is that you're showing the page opening up and something coming through from below. Give it a try. This word is word. It's all about creating an illusion. Illusion. Yeah, choose your favorite.